Hello, everybody, and welcome back to 999 with friends.
Yippee! Hello, I am friends.
Where were we? Everybody, met up again. Yes?
Yes, in the hospital bedroom.
Yes.
In the bedroom.
The bedroom.
Alright,
The room that is full of beds.
So let's just get back into it, I suppose. They were happy to simply see one another again. Although the level of cheer varied greatly from person to person, each one of them was wearing some manner of smile. Almost as though they had already forgotten about the death of the ninth man.
Who cares about him?
No, thought Junpei. Perhaps that wasn't it. Maybe everybody's intentionally trying not to think about it because that is traumatizing. Perhaps thoughts of his death were what drove them to smile at one another. Not in a morbid or hateful way, no. The ninth man had died. But they were still alive, and that was something to be happy about. A sort of simple, uncomplicated joy, Junpei thought. The joy of being alive. Still alive. He felt sorry for the ninth man, but more than anything, Junpei was just happy to be alive.
For now.
For now.
There you have it.
For now.
Our half of the story.
His part finished, Ace fell silent. Oh yeah, I did turn the game up a little bit, because in the recording for the previous one, it was like just a tiny bit quiet compared to us, so hopefully this one is a little better.
Yep.
For a moment, Junpei was silent in thought. Then he spoke.
Okay, let me see if I got all this straight. When you guys got here, the bases for the Reds were already gone.
And you looked all over this room, but you couldn't find anything.
So you figured that there might be something in the hallway with all the doors.
So you went and had a look?
Yeah.
And while you were looking around, you heard voices.
Uh-huh. So you followed the voices and came back here.
Indeed. And that was how we found you.
Why don't we check those 3 Reds again, just in case?
You're right.
Yeah, maybe they magically
There's
fixed
a long,
themselves.
thin gap on the bottom. I think it's a slot for something. Probably electronic.
Well, this isn't good. If the red is inactive, we can't keep going.
Well, what about that hallway over there? Isn't there anywhere else we can go?
No, there isn't. There are plenty more hospital rooms, but nothing else.
Hospital rooms. That's what's behind all those doors?
Yes. There are a number of individual rooms in addition to this large one.
There was a door at the end of the hallway, but it was locked.
There was an astrological symbol engraved near the keyhole, however. I was able to get a good feel of it. I believe it was the symbol of Jupiter.
Not again. Those goddamn things are everywhere.
I wonder what they all mean.
For a moment, everyone was silent, deep in thought.
While we're asking what things mean, what's the deal with this room? I mean, I thought this was a cruise ship, but I can't imagine a cruise ship would have a hospital like this.
Of all people, it was Seven who answered, and with calm confidence.
Well, I figure it's probably a hospital ship. Chances are it's the Gigantic.
The Gigantic?
Junpei looked confused. So did everyone else.
What is this gigantic?
For the record, the Gigantic that they're talking about is a real ship, but its actual name is the Britannic. There is a theory that they changed the name of the ship to the Britannic after the Titanic sank. And it was originally called the Gigantic.
I see.
Yeah.
Seven
And that is how they avoided
for a moment, then began to explain.
The Gigantic.
That's how they avoided sinking again. It was the name all along.
A sister ship to the Titanic, built in the early 20th century. Actually, the Titanic had 2 sister ships, and they looked exactly the same. The Gigantic was said to be one of them. They intended to make her a passenger liner like the Titanic, but World War I began soon after the ship launched. The British Navy took her over and made her a hospital ship. At some point during the war, the Gigantic was damaged by a German mine in the Aegean Sea. She ran aground afterwards, so she didn't end up sunk. What happened to her after that? One theory going around is that a man named Lord Gourdain bought her. Seemed like he'd been one of the few to survive the Titanic sinking. That trauma turned him into some kind of obsessive collector of all things related to the Titanic. Soon enough, the guy wanted the Titanic itself, which was impossible, of course. It's stuck at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean.
So he went in a submarine.
She was identical.
And
So you're
it
saying
imploded.
this Lord Gourdain bought
The
this ship?
end.
Yeah.
It was
makes
either that or
sense.
he turned into James Cameron.
Yeah.
That's impossible.
The
no
two
way we're in
genders.
some boat that's almost 100 years old.
Imploded submarine or James Cameron?
Correct.
Pipe down. Just pay attention. What, that's it? Well, have you got any proof?
Proof?
Proof that this ship is really the Gigantic.
Well, this ship's got stuff that's like the Titanic and a hospital ship. So, I just figured.
Oh, for goodness. Don't tell me that's your only reason.
No, I've got more.
Like?
Well, I mean,
Seven looked around desperately, doing anything to avoid meeting Lotus's piercing stare. He scratched his head for a moment, then gave up. Finally, he opened his mouth.
I don't know.
Lotus sighed and shook her head.
I guess your memory isn't back yet, is it?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Hey, whoa, wait a minute. Memory isn't back?
Junpei was, he felt, legitimately shocked by what seemed to be new and very important information. Everyone else, however, seemed unimpressed. In fact, they all looked at Junpei as though he had said something very strange.
Yeah.
Your point being?
He decided to revise his attitude for the next question.
Wait, was I the only one that didn't know?
Everyone nodded.
Why?
Oh, yeah, I guess I didn't tell you, huh? I told the rest of them before we ran into you on the stairs. I told them I couldn't remember a damn thing from before I woke up.
What?
So he remembers about the Gigantic.
Then, almost as if to save Junpei from further embarrassment... Uh-oh. A bell began to ring from far away.
Huh. A bell.
It sounds like the clock in the main stairway.
Junpei counted each chime carefully.
10, 11, 12. Huh, 12.
It's midnight. Then we've still got 6 hours left, right?
Damn, it's already midnight? How long did we spend in that freezer?
Well, remember,
don't
they
have any
spent
time
like
to screw
3
around.
hours arguing or something.
Yeah.
Let's get going. We gotta find the missing parts for the Reds.
What do you mean, find? How on earth do you propose we do that?
We've looked everywhere in this room. That only leaves one place to look.
One?
Well, not just one.
I love when the audio and the
And the
text,
text doesn't
don't
match.
line up.
Hmm?
Wait. Don't tell me you mean we need to search all of the other rooms.
Don't freak out. We've already searched 4 of them.
4 rooms?
We just have to split up the rest between the 8 of us. If each of us can do 6 rooms apiece, we'll have the other 38
God.
rooms cleared in no time.
There are 48 other rooms?
God. Her earlier experiences had apparently not encouraged Lotus to trust Seven. Seven scratched his head awkwardly.
Maybe?
That is so weird.
All right,
Why is
so everyone knows which area they're searching?
why was it all messed up for that part?
Yeah.
Yes!
Junpei was chosen to search the rooms on the starboard side, moving from fore to aft. It doesn't
Whatever that
matter, probably, but what are those directions?
4 means
Forward would be
Forward.
front and aft,
aft
would be
means
back.
back.
Yeah. Aft is the butt.
Aft is the butt.
Starboard. I can never remember which one is.
It's port and starboard.
Yeah.
I
So-
always
Those are
forget
left
as
and right.
well.
We'll all meet up
I
when
can
the
never
clock goes
remember
off
which
again.
one is which.
How
Port
about in
side
that
is the
room with all the
left-hand
beds?
side.
Alright.
Yeah. Sounds straightforward enough.
I'll shout if I find any of the components we need.
I hope we can find them within the time limit.
If we can't, then we'll just have to come up with another plan.
Then
Right.
we'll die.
Then let's do this.
The details decided, they left to begin searching. Out into the hallway they went, each to the rooms they'd been assigned. However,
Everyone
However,
from far away, Junpei heard the bell ring. It did so only once. It was 1 a.m. It took you guys an hour to come up with this?
to search 6 rooms each.
It's 1.
How big are
I better
these
get back
rooms?
to the others.
They're probably pretty big. How do I get over there?
He jogged through the entrance of the large hospital room to find 6 of the others already there.
Huh?
Ace, Santa, Clover, June, Seven, and Lotus. They had gathered in front of door number 8. Or perhaps, to be accurate, they had gathered in front of the red next to door number 8.
What are they doing over there?
Had one of them found the missing piece?
What happened, guys?
It was June who answered him.
Jumpy, look!
She was pointing at the red. He pushed through the others until he stood in front of it. Immediately, he knew what she had meant.
Vacant.
Junpei sighed.
Come on, guys. Who was it? I thought we were supposed to yell if we found it.
Well,
All right, who broke it?
Junpei wondered why she was hesitating. I'm sure there's gotta be an animatic of that with this, right?
God.
Oh, absolutely.
The others looked as confused as June, but kept their mouths shut.
What the hell? What is up with you guys?
They all knew something he didn't, and Junpei wasn't about to leave things that way. Finally, Lotus frowned and spoke.
Well, that's the thing. We don't know.
You don't know.
When I got back, it was already like this. There was no one else here. That means I was the first one back, but the missing parts were already back in the red.
What? Let me see.
Junpei looked at the bottom of the red again, just to make sure. The slot that had been open on the bottom was now covered with metal.
You're right. It's in there. What about the other 2?
They're the same.
Let me take a look.
Junpei quickly examined the other 2 boxes.
It's just as you said.
Satisfied that they were also repaired, but still very confused, he returned to
usual.
the others.
All right, I just
When
want
is
to be
he
sure
not
here.
confused?
Seriously.
Nobody has any idea what the hell happened here, right?
Correct.
none.
Ace and June nodded silently. Seven raised his hands as if to say, "Not me," and Santa just shrugged. Only Clover lowered her head and did nothing.
Huh. Wait a minute.
That was when he noticed.
Where's Snake?
Junpei swept his eyes across the room a second time, but Snake was nowhere to be seen.
He's
Does that
hiding
mean that
under
he
the
found
bed.
them?
I've no idea. There's nothing to suggest it, but nothing to suggest he didn't either.
I don't suppose we'll know until we can ask him in person.
Well, whatever he did or didn't do, he's pretty damn late. What the hell is he up to?
Maybe he's lost.
Yeah, well, that seems likely. Dude can't see. I don't know how he gets around in the first place.
Because he's smarter than you.
Yeah. Clover
And
raised her
seeing eye
head.
sister.
No! That's impossible!
Suddenly, she was shouting.
Yeah, my brother's blind, but he's got really great hearing. He can get around as well as anyone who can see. So he couldn't get lost. That's impossible!
Clover had started to shake, and the knuckles of her hands had gone white. She spun around, but before she did, Junpei noticed tears welling up in her eyes.
I'm gonna go look for him!
Yeah, guys, maybe a little insensitive.
Yeah. The words were barely out of her mouth when she began to run.
Hey, hold on, Clover. Wait!
Junpei cried out to her, but he was too slow. She kept going, and before anyone else could react, she was gone.
What I want to know is why they gave Snake rooms to search for the red by himself.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like the smartest of decisions.
Like, it would take him, like, 3 times as long as anybody else to completely search a room.
Yeah.
Well, that didn't work. Damn it. What should we do now?
Well, the red is working now.
No! We're not leaving 2 people behind! We should go look for them!
Oh man, this ain't good.
Oh, yes, what an excellent idea. We just wasted a bunch of time looking for some piece of electronic junk. Now let's waste some more by looking for a couple of idiots.
Then remain here if you feel you must, but there's no time. We've only 5 hours left.
Junpei and the others nodded to one another and took off at a run. In front of the stairs that led to B deck, they decided to split up.
Let's split up.
All right, I'll take this direction.
Then I shall look that way.
I'll be over here.
See you all later.
Soon, only 2 of them were left. Those 2 were Junpei and June, who had been a few steps behind the others.
All right, we should go too.
Yes, let's go! But where should we start?
Let's see.
I don't think this choice matters in terms of, like, the timeline, so just choose whatever.
The hallway with all the rooms, I guess?
We should go check out that hallway with all the rooms.
Okay, let's go, Jumpy.
They turned around and took off down the hallway to their left.
Oh, it's Ace.
Ahead of them, farther down the hallway, they spotted Ace.
Hey, Snake! Where are you? Answer me if you're there!
What should Junpei do?
Run to Ace. Do a gay little run that pisses everybody off like you do in ZPD.
With June
on,
in
I have to
tow,
post the-
Junpei jogged up to Ace.
Hang on, let me put the ZTD run in here. Here we go.
Oh,
Oh, I've
God.
seen it.
I'm afraid.
That's him.
Yeah, yeah, I've seen that before.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Hearing their footsteps, he turned to greet them.
I have
Ah,
concerns.
hello there. Snake is... Well, that's obvious, isn't it? I assume you haven't found him yet?
Yeah, doesn't seem like you're having any luck either.
I really wonder where he could have gone.
Well, wherever he's disappeared to, we must find him as quickly as we can. For Clover's sake.
Right.
June's face looked kinda enraptured.
By the way, do you think Clover and Snake are really siblings?
Why would you say that?
Why would you say that? The question seemed somehow odd to Junpei.
Why? Well, it's obvious, isn't it? They don't look alike at all.
Ace looked at him for a moment and then spoke.
Yes, you know, now that you mention it, they don't.
Now that you mention it,
Still,
If you
there
know,
are a
you
great
know.
many siblings who do not look like one another. It certainly isn't rare.
Junpei wasn't sure why, or even if he was seeing what he thought he was, but he could have sworn that Ace's face tightened as he spoke.
At any rate, we really must find Snake as soon as possible. The clock is ticking. We really can't afford to waste any time. Very well. Let's get back to the search, shall we? You can leave this area to me.
There is spoiler text in our Discord chat.
All right. Let's go, Jumpy.
Wait.
The Scooby-Doo laughter.
At June's urging, they left. They found themselves back at the stairs, but Junpei's mind was in turmoil.
Something about that was... I'll think on it later. Like Ace said, finding Snake is our top priority.
Junpei did his best to clear his mind.
All right, where should we go next?
Now, is it gonna have us search everywhere?
Yeah.
Yep.
Alright.
Let's go
Casino
take a
then.
look
We'll
around
just
the
go
casino.
down the list.
Okay, let's go.
I think Santa's there gambling.
They quickened their pace and headed for B deck. Before they knew it, they were there. So was Lotus.
Oh. Okay.
She was leaning against the wall, examining her nails. Girl!
Hey, what do you think you're doing?
She
That nail
glanced up
care
at him,
emoji.
unimpressed.
Isn't it obvious? I'm looking for Snake.
I'm just not seeing it.
Really? Maybe you need to look harder.
I don't think that's the problem.
Oh, by the way, I've got a proposal for you two. Care to hear it?
Okay, what do you got
What
to
is it?
say?
Well, I don't like to beat around the bush, so I'll get right to it. Why don't we team up?
Team up?
Yeah. What? You need me to explain it to you? I'm saying, why don't we go through a numbered door?
Even if we wanted to, that's impossible.
Why?
Jumpy's bracelet number is 5, mine is 6, and yours is 8. Our digital root would be 1.
Yep. 5 plus 6 plus 8 equals 19. 1 plus 9 equals 10. 1 plus
But
0
there's no
equals
number
1.
1 door in the large hospital room. The only doors there are 3, 7, and 8.
Then we add another person.
Huh?
Who?
What? Isn't that easy? 7.
Oh, if we add 7, 5 plus 6 plus 8 plus 7 equals 26. The digital root of 26, 2 plus 6 equals 8.
Then the 4 of them could go through the number 8 door. But...
Wait a minute. What about the other 4? Ace, Snake, Santa, and Clover.
Well, why don't you add them up?
that was simple enough.
1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 equals 10. And 1 plus 0 equals 1. The digital root for those 4 would be 1.
That's right.
And you know the number 1 door isn't in the big hospital room, right?
Of course I know that.
No! Are you saying you'd leave them behind?
Of course not. What kind of woman do you think I am? Once we get off the ship, we could come back and rescue them, couldn't we? Then we wouldn't really be leaving them behind.
Don't try to lie to us. I don't think you do anything of the sort.
Really? Why do you think that?
You remember, don't you? We have less than 5 hours left. Even if we manage to escape, there's no way we could come back to rescue them in less than 5 hours.
Well, you never know until you try.
No, you're not thinking this through. Even if we brought 7 with us, we wouldn't be able to get off the ship. The 4 of us couldn't open door 9. It is hidden, but an exit can be found. Seek a way out. Seek a door that carries a 9.
Yeah, that's right. The digital root for the 4 of us would be 8, so we'd have to add Ace to make 9.
That's right. Unless we bring Ace too, we'll be stuck.
Lotus scratched the back of her ear.
Oh. Well, that's unfortunate.
Unfortunate. That's all you have to say?
She didn't sound particularly bothered by what Junpei said. Nor did she seem particularly surprised.
Well, let's try and find another way, okay? A way to get out of here with all 8 of us.
That's impossible. Are you being serious? And you do know that only 5 people, at most, can go through one of the numbered doors, right? The number 9 isn't going to be an exception to that rule. Regardless, at least 3 people will get left behind.
Huh?
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
The moment he said it, Junpei felt a chill run down his spine.
Oh, wait just a second. You're skipping over a really big detail.
Yes, what she said was true, but how Lotus could remain cavalier about so terrifying a prospect was beyond him.
Is that really okay? That means 3 people will die in the end. Are you okay with that? That's just...
Lotus's forehead furrowed.
You think I could have a moment alone? There are some things I need to think about.
Junpei and June turned and began walking away from Lotus.
That didn't turn out to be a very pleasant conversation.
Yeah.
Junpei's heart felt heavy and his steps sluggish. But, he told himself, pessimism would get them nowhere.
Well, regardless.
So he forced himself to smile and turned to June.
Let's just focus on finding Snake for now, okay?
Yes, you're right. We can think about those other things later.
Yeah.
Junpei nodded.
All right. Where should we go next?
To the first-class cabin.
Let's go take a look at the
You
first
only
class
one left.
cabin. It's really close.
Except for the room with all the beds.
Yeah. They turned around and took off down the hallway to their left. Outside of the first-class cabin, they found Clover. She was standing in front of the wall. She was staring at a meaningless point on the wall, her eyes blank. What should Junpei do? Let's talk to her.
Are you alright?
He did his best to sound friendly, but Clover didn't respond.
Look, I know you're really worried, but...
He could think of no words to say that didn't sound hollow and fake. Junpei hesitated. Clover was so consumed by worry and fear that Junpei feared it would crush her. Her actions didn't surprise him. She had suddenly lost her brother, who she seemed to have been very close to.
Alone.
Her voice was thin and barely audible.
Alone.
Hmm?
Alone. I said leave me alone!
Suddenly, she was screaming.
You're so annoying! Just go away and leave me alone! Just looking at you guys is pissing me off! Go away, okay? Just go somewhere else! Stop bothering me!
Junpei was taken aback. Such anger and hate. June's eyes had gone wide with surprise as well.
Why are you still here? Didn't you hear me? Huh? Fine, forget it. If you aren't gonna leave, then I'll just...
Alright, let's go, June.
Yeah.
They turned and left Clover. As they did, Junpei glanced back over his shoulder to see Clover wiping tears from her face. Clover had driven home the misery of their situation, but Junpei told himself that getting depressed would get him nowhere but depressed. Depressed being twice there, I thought I misread the sentence at first.
We really need to find Snake, for Clover's sake.
He did his best to push away the misery and depression and forced a smile.
So, where do you think we should go next?
Back to the hospital room. That's the only place left
To the
to go.
bedroom.
Let's head back to the large hospital room.
Alright, that's probably the best idea.
I still think
Together,
they
they
should have
ran
called it
down
the
the stairs.
bedroom.
Hey, wait, that's...
Think of the memes.
On their way to the large hospital room, Junpei and June noticed Santa standing there next to the number 3 door.
Santa?
Junpei paused. What should Junpei do? Talk to him. Junpei and June walked up to Santa.
What are you doing?
What? You can't tell? I'm checking out the red.
Why? Is there something bothering you?
What? It's not bothering you?
Huh?
The guts of this red. Why wouldn't you wonder who the hell put it back in here?
Yeah, that's true. Well, I'm curious too, but...
Who do you think did it?
Santa's eyes narrowed as he looked at June. She shook her head.
I don't know.
Well, what about you, Junpei? Who do you think fixed this thing for us?
Someone other than the 8 of us.
Maybe there's someone else on this ship with us.
You mean someone hiding here?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just an idea.
And you're saying this mystery person fixed the reds?
That's not any weirder than everything else happening?
Seems to me like, there's a timeline we're meant to be following, and we were ahead of schedule.
Why?
Which is really funny considering how long they've taken to do literally anything.
Yeah, I know.
Or it could have been like because they didn't know how long the test was going to take and didn't want them moving on without the other people.
Or they just wanted to fuck.
Also true. You would think that
all
they would
are
make a
equally
remote
valid options.
You would think they would make like a remote like turn on, like, oh, they're done. Okay, it's on now.
Santa shoved his hands into his pockets and cracked his knuckles.
Seems unlikely.
Why?
I don't know. Just a feeling. Hard to believe Zero'd bring in a secret 10th player. I mean, the name of the game is the Nonary game, for Christ's sake.
Hey, when did I say it was another player?
You know what Nonary means, right? It means 9.
No, that's not what I meant. I mean more like someone who's been living here for a long time. Or someone who, like, stayed here.
Seriously? That's
A
even more
ghost.
ridiculous.
Ooh.
Why do you think Zero would leave them alone?
Junpei furrowed his brow.
So, in other words, one of us is the person who fixed the red.
Santa grinned.
Bingo! We have a winner.
But if that's true, then the person who did it doesn't want the rest of us to know that they fixed it.
Yeah.
But why?
No idea. Maybe if they can clean on that, it means we'd find out something else. Something bad.
Something bad?
Dunno. But whatever it is, it's gotta be worth hiding. Of course, it could have something to do with Snake's disappearance.
You think maybe they did something to Snake?
Yeah.
Junpei stared at Santa. There was something about him that made Junpei wary. At first, he'd assumed the other man wasn't terribly clever, but Junpei was beginning to think he would need to reevaluate that assessment. When Santa spoke again, his voice was quiet.
Look, if you trust anybody in this game, you're gonna lose. You gotta be careful. The person you trust the most could turn out to be the one who stabs you in the back.
With that depressing suggestion, he turned and quietly walked away.
And that's that, I guess.
Junpei and June looked at one another and smiled awkwardly. Where would they go next? Well, we've looked everywhere, so...
Yep.
They looked everywhere they could think of, but Snake was nowhere to be found.
Snake hasn't been anywhere we've searched.
Lotus looked around at 6 frustrated faces and spoke.
And we can't keep looking for him. Wherever he is, it's not here. We need to get moving.
Junpei couldn't disagree with what she was saying. Snake seemed to have completely disappeared. There was no point to wasting any more time. The others seemed to be having similar thoughts, but they stayed silent. Finally, Seven spoke.
We don't got a choice. Lotus is right. We're not gonna find Snake. There's a problem, though. We've got to figure out who's gonna go through which door.
Yes, I have a proposal.
She walked back and forth across the floor, her heels clicking against the wood. Finally, she stopped.
Why don't we decide on one person to sacrifice?
Sacrifice?
Well, perhaps that's a bit of a harsh word, but yes. You've all figured it out by now, haven't you? We can't all make it through those doors. If we split into 2 teams of 4 and 3 people respectively, then 3 people will be left behind. If we split into 2 teams of 5 and 2 people respectively, then 2 people will be left behind. But if we split into 2 groups of 3 and leave 1 person out, then only 1 person will be left behind.
Leaving behind 3 people with 2 teams of 4 and 3.
What are you doing, sir? Why do you have your paws? Sorry, there's a creature.
There's a creature.
Yes, it's a dog.
Is it Punyarimpa?
No, he has fluffy ears.
Aw.
I'm gonna go with not sure. Junpei wasn't quite sure that was true.
Wait a minute. 2 people get left behind if we split into 5 and 2. And 1 person is left behind if we split into 3, 3, and 1. I got that part. You can't go through the numbered doors with any less than 3 people. But if we split into 4 and 3, then why do 3 people have to be left behind?
Just run the numbers. Let's say we go through door 7 with 1, 4, 5, 6. Who's left over?
That would be 3, 7, 8.
What's the digital root for that?
3 plus 7 plus 8 is 18, so add 1, 8, 9.
Exactly. But door 9 isn't here, right? That means 3, 7, 8 won't be going anywhere. That was just an example, of course. There are a lot of different combinations, but the result will always be the same. It doesn't matter which 4 it is. The 3 that are left over can't go through any of the doors. Go ahead and calculate it if you have the time. You'll see. Anyway, that's how it is. Now, if we can get back to my proposal, we only have to sacrifice 1 person if we split into 3, 3, and 1.
When Seven spoke, his voice was strained.
Then you're saying we gotta decide who's gonna stay behind.
Yes, we do. Given our circumstances, it's logically and morally the best solution. If the other 6 are to survive, then 1 person has to sacrifice themselves.
No, that's too cruel.
What's so cruel about it?
To just sacrifice someone like that?
Then what's your plan? Maybe we should sacrifice 2 people instead of just 1.
That's not what I meant. We shouldn't sacrifice anyone.
I told you, that's impossible. Wake up.
Whoa, whoa. Calm down, you 2.
Santa stepped between Lotus and June.
Look, what Lotus is trying to say is, you should aim to bring the greatest amount of happiness to the greatest amount of people, right?
Exactly. That's how democracy works. And for that reason, I think the only fair way to decide who will be sacrificed is through a vote. What do you think?
Vote somebody off the island.
No, that's terrible.
I'm not asking you. Shut up. What about you, Sam?
Damn.
Me? Oh, I agree, I guess.
All right, that's 1 vote for. Counting mine, that's 2. 7.
I can't say I agree with you, but we don't exactly have a choice. If we don't do something, we're all gonna die.
Oh, glad to see you get it. If I can get 1 more vote, then it's decided. What about you, Clover?
Clover had moved away from the group and was sitting on one of the beds. Her whole body drooped. Junpei didn't know if she'd even heard Lotus's proposal.
Hey, Clover.
Lotus walked over to Clover and gently laid a hand on her shoulder.
Your brother has to be behind one of the numbered doors. We've searched everywhere, but we didn't find him. Doesn't that mean he has to have gone through one of them somehow?
Clover slowly lifted her face.
Let's go look for him together, okay? If we sacrifice one person, then we can go look for him. You agree with me, right?
Okay.
Girl. Clover nodded once.
The motion carries.
Oh, mamma mia.
Lotus spun around and walked towards Junpei.
Now, let's start a vote to...
That won't be necessary.
Ace had barely spoken for Lotus's entire speech, and everyone jumped a little. 6 pairs of eyes turned to look at him. He didn't seem to notice, or even care.
I will stay. That should solve our problem, yes?
Ace, what are you saying? No, you can't do that. That won't solve anything.
June's voice shook, and she looked around desperately for someone to agree with her. Ace simply looked at her.
June, I'm afraid you may have misunderstood me. I said I would stay, but I never said I would sacrifice myself.
Huh?
I trust you. Each and every one of you. I believe you'll come back for me.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. There's optimistic, and then there's just nuts. Those doors only go one way. You go in, you don't come out. If we go through them...
You won't be able to return, correct?
Yeah.
True, but that will not be the case once you've escaped from the ship.
What?
Please, I beg you. Once you've escaped, come back and rescue me. Ideally, within the time limit Zero has given us.
No, that's ridiculous. There's no way we could get back in time.
Finally, Junpei could hold his tongue no longer.
We've only got 5 hours left. We don't even know where the hell we are. How on earth are we gonna find someone to come and rescue you?
Then, perhaps you would prefer to stay instead of me? Or perhaps you would be willing to leave June behind?
Ace's voice was dignified and without a hint of cruelty or malice. Junpei had no rebuttal.
You see, there's no other choice. Then I see we've come to our conclusion. Go on. Don't worry yourselves about me. Go, quickly.
Junpei stood frozen by indecision, unable to move. June bit her lip so hard that Junpei feared she would break the skin. Santa stood against a wall, calm and aloof. Seven tore his beanie from his head and turned it over anxiously in his hands. Only Clover stared at Ace, with an expression Junpei was unable to decipher. Lotus's attitude, however, was different from the others.
Good. Let's accept his kind offer then.
She smiled, her eyes bright. Ace answered with a smile of his own.
Good. I think this is the best for me. Perhaps I'll be able to take a nap. It may be my age, but I get tired so easily these days.
As he spoke, Ace lowered himself down to the floor next to one of the beds. From somewhere deep in the ship, Junpei suddenly heard the screeching of metal on metal. It was almost as if the ship were screaming. Would it really hold until their time limit was up? Already, D-Deck was flooded. In the sudden silence, the only sound was the sad metal wail of the ship. Unsurprisingly, it was Lotus who spoke first.
Well, what are you waiting for? We're wasting time. Why don't we hurry it up?
As if a spell had been broken, the others all began to talk at once.
You're right. We should get going. That's all we can do right now.
7.
Seriously. Honestly, I was getting kind of sick of listening to you guys talk.
You too, Santa? I have to find my brother. Wait, all of you. Let's just calm down and think about this. There has to be a way to get everyone out. There has to be. Right, Jumpy? Say something.
Yeah, let's think. There's gotta be another way.
His words sounded hollow and fake.
Fine! Forget about it! I'll figure it out on my own.
She spun around and ran toward Ace. He had slumped down next to the bed when June grabbed his arm and pulled.
Ace! Come on, Ace. Please stand up. You can't give up yet. We just have to sit down together and think about this. We'll figure out a way that we can all get out of here.
Then it happened. Ace fell forward.
Yeah.
He slumped over onto the wooden floor, his body folded in half like a boxer out cold.
Ace!
June cried out and dropped to her knees beside him. She put her arm around his neck and did her best to lift him up.
What happened? Ace, say something!
She shook him frantically. His eyes fluttered open.
I'm all right.
His voice was weak and slightly slurred.
How are you all right?
This.
He held out his left arm and slowly opened his hand.
A syringe?
In it was a syringe and a small vial. The vial was empty. It had only recently been emptied. A few drops clung to the sides. There was a label taped to the side of the container. It read, Soporil Beta. I don't know if I said that right.
I don't remember. It's fine.
Whatever. Soporil Beta?
Soporil Beta. What does this do?
There you go.
Did you use this?
Yes. It's just anesthetic. I'll be fine.
Anesthetic?
I found it earlier. While we were searching the hospital rooms. I thought it might be useful later. I didn't think I'd be using it on myself.
Useful for what later?
Why did you do this?
What do you think is gonna happen, my dude?
Didn't I tell you? I'd like to take a nap. I really am. Very tired.
Junpei knew that wasn't why he'd done it. Ace had injected himself with anesthetic to forestall Junpei and June's attempts to bring him along. If he couldn't move, there was nothing they could do. He'd injected himself so that they would be forced to leave him behind.
Ace!
Is there something you want to say? I just like to sleep a little. Could you keep it down?
No, don't, Ace. Don't fall asleep.
You feel warm. So comfortable. I think I'll have a nice dream.
Ace's eyelids drooped further and further, almost as though he were dying.
Ace! Ace!
She shook his shoulder again and again, but this time he didn't respond. Only the gentle rising and falling of his chest told them he was alive. Junpei was relieved to see he was, in fact, still breathing.
Let's get him up on a bed.
He lifted Ace up off the floor and laid him on the bed he'd been leaning against. When Junpei turned around, Lotus gave him a look of pity.
Well, we really don't have a choice now. We can't let his sacrifice go to waste, right?
Like you even mean that.
You say something?
No, nothing.
It felt wrong, but he had to agree. Then suddenly, Santa spoke.
Yeah, we're not done choosing yet, are we?
Huh? What do you mean?
Well, we haven't decided who's going in what door.
Ah, yes. Yes, that's true.
Enough of this screwing around. Let's decide. You first, Lotus. Which door do you want?
I I want door number 8. It's the same number as my bracelet number.
Got it. You're 8. You're next, 7. Which one do you want?
I'll take 7. I can't get along with that old lady.
What did you just say?
Her face distorted by rage, Lotus took a step towards 7. He threw up his hands and made a face like a child caught with his hand in the cookie jar.
Who, me? I didn't say nothing.
You're gonna get it next time.
She shot him a glare that would have melted steel, then turned and stalked off.
All right, who's next?
Santa's gaze moved across the 3 people left. Finally, they stopped on Junpei.
Junpei, which door do you want?
At last, Junpei's mind was already made up.
Well,
Oh boy!
just like scroll down at random while closing your eyes and then click on something.
Alright, hold up. Let me save first.
Will it like go back to the top if you scroll down? Or does it just
Scroll wheel doesn't seem to be doing anything.
Oh yeah, scroll wheel is the history. I forgot about that.
And using S.
Just to let you know, once you have picked when you get to a door choice, it will let you go back to that choice. If
In
you
the-
use the flowchart.
Yeah.
For if you want to get every ending, you can just go back to a door choice. So
Yep.
Yeah, that was mentioned before.
yes.
So it doesn't like especially matter what door you pick.
Yeah.
You'll get an ending.
We'll get an ending.
Yeah?
I am very curious to see what ending we get first.
Let's
Should
go
look
door
at my
8. I
playthrough
like
that I-
Lotus. She's mean.
I think I'm gonna go with door 8.
Okay, 8 it is.
Yeah.
All right then. That means June's got to go through 7.
What?
Wait.
Oh no!
What?
Santa grimaced and muttered angrily to himself, but finally began to explain.
If the 6 of us are gonna keep going without leaving anyone behind, there are only 3 ways we can do it.
Plan A.
Have 3, 5, and 8 go through 7, and 4, 6, and 7 go through 8.
Plan B.
4, 5, and 7 go through 7, and 3, 6, and 8 go through 8.
Plan C.
Or 3, 6, and 7 go through 7, and 4, 5, and 8 get 8. There are no other combinations. In other words, 3 and 4 and 7 and 8 can never go through the same doors. You get it now?
As Santa finished, June looked over at Junpei, tears welling up at the corner of her eyes.
Oh no. You're saying we aren't gonna see each other again for a long time.
Junpei felt just as June did. He wanted to be at her side through whatever trials they were preparing to face. But he knew if they were to survive, he had to swallow his feelings. In order for the 6 of them to move forward, he and June had to be separated. He looked at June. He was scared to lose her, but he swallowed, steeled his resolve, and did his best to smile.
Hey, come on. You're making it sound like we're never gonna see each other again. We gotta split up, but only for a while. This is just like when we went into the 4 and 5 doors, remember? We got split up then too, but we all met back up. I'll bet 7 and 8 are just like that.
You mean they're connected somewhere?
Yeah, probably.
Probably.
She didn't sound very hopeful. It was 7 that interjected.
I'm sure they're gonna connect somewhere.
Why? What makes you think so?
If they don't, then neither team can get through door 9. In other words, the game would end right here. Zero's been on top of his shit so far. I don't think he'd blow it now. I'm damn sure that son of a bitch wants to have his fun as long as possible. He's not gonna end this game until we get through the 9 door.
June said nothing. The tears were gone, but her eyes were still sad as they looked at Junpei. Okay, for the viewers, I've got our Discord text chat over on the side while I'm playing this, right? And Ike just posted, it looks like a screenshot from the wiki of, there's the picture of Lotus saying, "What the hell is a fun urine pot?" And then below it says, "Lotus being a blasphemous and rude woman."
It's true.
How dare she insult the Fun Yurinpa?
Everything's gonna be fine. We're gonna see each other again. I promise.
June bit her lip and gave him an almost imperceptible nod.
Yes. Promise?
Her voice was barely above a whisper. Santa's voice shattered the moment.
You guys are done, right?
He stretched and continued.
Anyway, that's pretty much it. Clover and I will both go into separate groups. I figure I'll take 7 and Clover can take 8. Any problems with that, Clover?
Clover looked away and was silent for a moment.
Whatever.
It was more of a dismissal than an agreement, but Santa didn't seem to care.
All right, we're ready to go then. Let's move.
At Santa's command, the group split and headed for their respective doors. Santa, 7, and June walked toward door 7, while Clover, Lotus, and Junpei headed for door 8. For a long moment, they stood in front of the door. Then, Lotus laid her hand against her chest and turned to Junpei and Clover.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then shall we go?
It's open.
A narrow hallway stretched out before them.
Okay.
Hurry!
Lotus and Clover leapt through the door. The moment they did, their bracelets beeped. The detonators in the bracelets had been activated. Junpei stepped forward to follow them. But as he was about to step over the threshold, he stopped. He looked to his left, toward door 7. June stood there, a mirror image of Junpei. She turned around and looked toward him. Their eyes met.
June.
Jumpy.
They nodded. Their farewell took almost 1.5 seconds.
What the hell are you doing?
Then someone took hold of Junpei's arms and hauled him bodily through the door. Yeah, you don't have much time. He heard the sound of the numbered door slam shut behind him. His bracelet gave a cold electronic beep.
81 seconds left. Hurry!
Lotus snapped at him and ran to the dead.
Ugh.
Junpei and Clover followed her as fast as they could.
It stopped.
With a shaking hand, she wiped a few beads of sweat from her forehead. Clover, however, was calm. Aloof, perhaps.
Pointless.
She muttered to herself without emotion and began to walk down the hallway, leaving behind a confused Junpei and Lotus. Lotus watched the girls receding back with a mix of frustration and curiosity.
What an unpleasant girl. I bet she's not very popular with the boys.
Her sarcasm seemed a little more biting than was perhaps necessary, but she sighed and started after the younger girl.
Maybe pairing these two together was a mistake. Too late now. I better catch up to them.
After taking a moment to catch his breath, Junpei followed.
Oh, it's a dead end.
The hallway made a number of turns before at last coming to a dead end.
There's a door on the left, though.
For a few minutes, they stood in front of the door, examining it. Above the door was a plate with the word laboratory engraved on it.
A laboratory? Huh.
Oh, that doesn't sound very pleasant. I don't like the look of this place.
Me either. But there aren't any other doors. It's not like we have a lot of choices.
Junpei,
Huh?
please, you first.
Junpei suspected her politeness was motivated by something other than respect.
Ugh, fine.
Junpei muttered to himself and pushed open the iron door. You're the sacrifice in case anything jumps out at you.
Yeah, motivated by meat shield.
Meat!
His first steps
A part
inside the
note.
room inside were tentative and careful, but as he examined the room, it became clear that there was no imminent danger. Lotus followed him in, and Clover brought up the rear. The room they found themselves in was divided into two separate areas by a curved wall. A thick glass window built into that wall made it possible to see into the other side of the division.
You know, I think the window looks into another room.
Maybe it's for monitoring something.
Junpei walked to the window and looked through.
What the hell?
He wasn't sure what else to say. In the center of a room shaped like a quarter circle, a mannequin lay on what looked like a medical exam table.
It looks so creepy.
Junpei jumped a little. He hadn't noticed Lotus come up next to him.
It's kind of like that doll is waiting for surgery.
This is a laboratory, right? I'd say it's more like it's waiting to be experimented on.
Ooh,
It's creepy either way. Don't think that thing's gonna suddenly sit up or something, do you?
Well, I don't know. I mean, look at all those cables sticking out of it. If we press the wrong button, I don't know.
Stop it. Just thinking about it is terrifying.
She was
I
gripping
love
her
this word.
arms, the knuckles on her hands white.
Wait, where's Clover?
She was still standing near the entrance of the room. Her face had the appearance of calm, but it was drawn and somehow sad.
What is she?
There was something almost pitiful about her.
Yeah, she's depressed.
Yeah!
Her brother is gone.
Junpei walked over to her and, as kindly as he could, spoke.
Are you okay?
Clover looked away.
What are you talking about?
What? I'm just worried about you. You've been real quiet.
What? I can't be quiet if I want to?
Well, I mean, of course you can. I just...
Okay then. If I can be quiet if I want, just leave me alone, okay?
Come on, you know I can't do that. We gotta work together.
Clover bit her lip and
Junpei,
was
you
silent
just
for a
don't
moment,
get
then
it.
suddenly... Her cry took Junpei by surprise, and he stumbled backward a few steps, alarmed.
My brother's not the kind of person who'd just leave me behind! Something happened to him! Something bad.
Yeah.
Junpei had nothing to say. Lotus, jolted from her mannequin nightmares by Clover's voice, turned toward them.
What happened?
Clover's eyes slid to Lotus, then back to Junpei.
Look, just don't bother me, okay? Leave me alone.
Finished, she turned around. Before Junpei or Lotus could say anything, Clover had begun to walk quickly away.
Hey, wait, Clover! Hold on! That way is...
I told you to leave me alone!
He might as well have been talking to a wall for all the notice she took of his cries. Not even slowing down, she made for a doorway cut in the wall in front of her. Without even slowing down, she passed through the doorway.
Clover, watch out above you!
And without warning, an iron gate fell from the ceiling like a portcullis, sealing Clover in.
What the heck? What's going on here?
Clover grabbed hold of the iron bars and shook them as hard as she could.
Hang on. I'll get it open.
Oh, for crying out. You'll never do it on your own.
Junpei grabbed the bars and pulled. In a moment, Lotus joined him. The three of them pulled as hard as they could, but...
Damn it! It's not moving.
Wait!
You have to solve my prison door puzzle.
You have to solve my ass slap puzzle.
No, I'm not giving up. This has got to be another one of Zero's puzzles.
If it is, then there's gotta be a way to open it.
Junpei nodded.
Just what I was thinking. Now all we gotta do is find it. Lotus and I can look around out here. Clover, you're gonna have to see if you can find anything in there.
Oh, yes, I'm on it.
This makes me want to do an escape room so bad.
For real.
Escape rooms are all fun and games until you're in there and it realizes you actually suck at them.
I have beaten one escape room.
Silver handrail.
The other one, I think we failed.
Me and my
failed.
mom
other
have
one was
actually
also
been
right.
looking into escape rooms in our area to do one.
There's one escape room place in the mall here.
Door
I want
lock.
to go.
There's a red light on the display. That means it's locked. If we can get that light to turn green, then maybe we can get Clover back. This looks like the control for some kind of electronic lock. The red light is on, then it's gotta be locked. There's a green light just below it, although that one isn't lit. I bet it'll turn on if we can unlock it. Yes, that is how those work. Yes, but how are we going to unlock it? There's no keyhole, no card reader, and no keyboard for putting in a password. I have no idea. Thanks, Junpei, you're very helpful.
As usual.
The hands on the clock have stopped moving. The clock may stop, but time goes on. No time to screw around. We need to figure out a way out of here. Somehow I don't think that's gonna stop you from screwing around.
Yep.
There are two levers here. Do you think they activate something? Well, why don't you move one? Alright, I'll give it a try. Nope. Doesn't look like anything's happened. The only thing about the room that's changed is that the lever is down now. Not very impressive. This is a keyhole. This looks like a keyhole for the activation key. Okay. I think this thing's supposed to power that machine in the other room. Well, it doesn't appear to be doing that. I wonder how we're supposed to turn it on. With that. There's a lot of stuff here. I don't know how we could use any of these. Well, I can say for sure that I do know how to use at least one of these things. Which one? The one on top. I think it's a power cable. Power cable, huh? I'll take that. Yoink.
Yoink.
Anything else here? Stand for various pieces of equipment. Some of them might be useful. But I don't get anything else there. I wonder what this cable is connected to. Okay, one side of this thing is in the room with us. The other side extends into the laboratory where Clover is. In other words, the console in front of us is connected to the device in the laboratory. Okay. Ethanol. Cardboard boxes. There's some papers and stuff in them. What's in the boxes? They look quite full. As far as I can tell, it's a bunch of notes about some kind of experiments, but it's all really technical and stuff. I don't really get it. This is the computer. The power isn't on. Well, there is a power button. This is a waste of time. What? I don't see a power cable. Oops, yeah, you're right. No power cable. This thing isn't even connected to a main computer, though. It's got a monitor, keyboard, mouse, but that's it. Just sticking the power cable in isn't going to do anything. Oh, I don't know about that. Huh? Junpei, can we get back to what we were talking about, please? This computer doesn't have a power cable. No, it sure doesn't. And? Don't say and. It's rude. Have you already forgotten what you just picked up? Yeah, seriously.
Genius.
What I just picked up.
Huh?
This monitor doesn't have a power cable, so one end of this cable needs to be connected to a monitor, and the other end needs to plug in under the desk. Alright, let's just slip you in. Huh? Well, shoot, I can't use this. What's wrong? This cable has 3 prongs, but the socket only has 2 holes. It's not gonna fit, is what I'm saying. In other words, we're gonna need a plug to change the power cable to one with 2 prongs. We need an adapter. That's right.
You want to know something very funny? Strictly speaking, you could just remove the 3rd prong off the power cable. It's dangerous, but you could do it because the 3rd plug is actually the ground.
Oh! I wonder if there's anything important in there. These lockers are all a little larger than the ones on top. Let's see if there's anything useful in here. And no, nothing. Guess that's all there is. And nothing else in there. Junpei, do something, please! I'm doing my best!
Yeah, Clover, what are you doing?
A window made of really thick glass. I don't even think a bullet could break it.
My lawyer has recommended I do not finish the joke that I was about to say.
I don't know what kind of table this is, but part of it's all black. There's a pen lying over here. I think someone probably used it to make the table black. Well, if they only used the pen on one part of it, there's probably something underneath all that pen. Clover. Do you think you can erase it? Yeah, sure. Oh, this is a permanent marker. I have ethanol! Junpei, do you know how to erase ink from a permanent marker? Erase ink from a permanent marker, huh? Give me just a minute, Clover. I'll be right back. Yeah, let me switch which item I'm holding. Part of the table's been colored over in black with a permanent marker. If I could find something that could get rid of that ink, I could hand it over to Clover through the bars. Clover, use this ethanol. You should be able to wipe off that permanent marker ink with it. What am I gonna wipe with? Oh, well, your clothes, of course. Kidding, just kidding. Don't get mad at me. Please don't look at me like that, you're scaring me.
Oh, he always knows what to say to make things worse.
Fun fact, if you ever need to get hot glue off of a surface, just spray it with some isopropyl alcohol. It will release it.
Oh, I did not know that. Clover, can you use the cloth on the table? Soak it in ethanol and then use it to wash off all the stuff from the permanent marker, okay? Right, okay, so I gotta soak the cloth with ethanol. Well, she's got the cloth, but she seems to be having a little trouble with the bottle of ethanol. When she's ready, I should ask her to get to work on that stuff on the table. Okay, well,
For the love of God. Don't breathe it in.
It's a rack. There are a bunch of cables on it. Somebody cut the outer stuff off the cables. I can see the wires inside. I wonder what this is. This thing here looks like a voltmeter, and this is the control for that? Gosh, there's so many dials. Why don't you try turning one of them? Nope, nothing. There's no power here, guys. I turned the dial a whole bunch, but even if I turn all the switches on, nothing happens. I wonder what they washed here. There are these weird colored stains all over the sink. Hey, Clover, how are the power cables over there? Huh? What do you mean? Does the plug have 3 prongs or 2? I don't know what you're talking about. Let me go look. Guess she does have to kind of crouch down to get a look under there. The cable on the monitor has, it's got 2 of those little metal things. What does that mean? That's it. Okay, can you unplug that cable and bring it over here? Okay, but... Well, I can unplug it, but it's connected to the main computer. I can't take it over to you. Damn it, that's no good then. Well, how about just the plug? What? The plug? Well, maybe more like a, connector? It's a sort of thing that makes the plug with the 3 metal thingies into a plug with 2 metal thingies. Still useless? No, give me the adapter! Not useless, not useless at all. That's just what we were looking for. Okay, can you hold on for a little bit? And back down she goes. Alright, unplugged. I'll hand it to you over at the bars, okay? Alright, I am going to take that. Anyway, could you wipe off that permanent ink? Look, Clover, right now, at this moment, you're the only person we can depend on. I'm trusting you with this. You trust me? I feel kinda special. Okay, so... soak the cloth in ethanol and... there we go. Junpei! It's working! It's wiping the permanent ink off. Huh? There's some kind of weird drawing under all the permanent ink.
You look at it and it's lost.
Yeah! It does kind of look like that. What's the deal with that drawing Clover found? Maybe I should ask her to take another look at the table. I wonder what this is. There are a bunch of numbers in some kind of grid. I can't see it from here. Clover, you've got a pen and a notebook, right? Can you write those numbers down and then hand them to me through the bars? Okay, Roger. Anything else to look at in here? Is this, like, an examination table? There's a creepy mannequin in here, guys. Something sticking out of the mannequin's head, like wires or something. What the hell were they doing in there? Huh. Why is she all quiet now? They were doing experiments on humans. Probably. Oh man, now she looks sad. There's a mannequin lying on the exam table. I can't really see it very well from here, but it looks like there are a bunch of electrodes sticking out of its head.
Isn't this Science Boy the first?
It's a rack. There's some cables on top with copper wire exposed. Okay.
I think you need to talk to her again so she can hand you the connector.
Yeah. Here, Junpei. I wrote down all the numbers from the desk on here. Paper with numbers on it acquired. New material has been added to the file screen. Okay. Here you go. The 2-prong plug. Thanks. Nice. We are going to... okay, put the 2-prong plug onto the head of this power cable. Nice.
You know, I know one thing that would have made everyone in 999 suffer if Zero had done it.
What?
Have a bunch of things that you have like USB connectors.
Oh god.
But flip them at random. So you never know if it's gonna go in the right way or not until you actually try.
Oh god. Alright, I've got the two-pronged power cable in my hand. I'm pretty sure this will work. Under the desk I go. And let's just plug this thing into the monitor. Alright, that ought to do it. Alright, let's turn the power on. I don't think anything's gonna happen. Why not? Well, it's not connected to the main computer. You never know until you try. Pretty optimistic. Junpei pushed the button on the front of the monitor.
Oh, that worked.
With a soft hum, it turned on. Streams of letters that made no sense to Junpei began to scroll across the screen.
What?
What?
He had hoped it would turn on, but he hadn't expected this.
Huh? It's running on its
It
own?
just says, yeah, slap puzzle thing.
It certainly looks like it.
I wonder
isn't
if
that kinda
Junpei's
weird?
I wonder if Junpei's ever come across a monitor computer, like where the computer is part of the monitor.
Oh, an
Doesn't
all-in-one
seem
PC.
like it.
Yeah, an all-in-one PC. Like,
Yeah.
they exist.
Yeah.
Well, it's not connected to the main computer, right? There's just this keyboard and monitor. The only cable connected to this thing is the power cable we just plugged in. So, why is it working?
Maybe it's a wireless display.
Clearly, this was a reasonable explanation to Lotus.
A wireless display?
Yes, it connects to your computer wirelessly. Hence the name.
Oh,
Have you been living in a cave, Junpei?
Get his ass.
He most certainly had not, but...
Is that
Man
normal?
cave.
Yes, at least where I worked.
Oh, you
Like,
you
you've
guys
already
weren't here
established.
for the very beginning. I
Yeah.
called his apartment r/male living spaces.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
That's just true, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, it stopped.
Pass with a colon.
Looks like we need to enter a password.
Again? There must be a hint around here somewhere.
Could you go take a look?
Yeah, I'm on it. What are you
The
going
phrase
I'll see if
the
I can do
phrase
something about
pass
this on
with
my
a
own.
colon is very unfortunate.
to? On your own.
Yep, on my own.
Lotus?
Lotus pulled over the nearest chair and dropped herself down onto it in front of the keyboard. For a second, she stared at the screen. She kneaded her hands, knuckles popping, and twisted her back left, then right.
All right. Let's kick some ass.
Tits are gonna come out of that top.
Yeah.
They really are.
They must have like silicone padding on the inside to stay that good.
Double-sided tape and a dream.
Either that, or like the whole thing is flesh tone fabric because she doesn't have nipples.
Lotus smiled to herself and rubbed her hands together in anticipation. Then, before Junpei had time to blink, she was typing at an incredible speed, the click-clack of the keys running together like machine gun fire. Hacker voice, I'm in.
What?
Junpei was, for once, at a loss for words.
Didn't expect that, did you?
Of course I didn't. You're typing so fast. I can't even see your fingers.
Lotus grinned, pleased with herself.
Well, at any rate, you're pretty amazing.
Did you fall for me again?
Whoa. What do you mean again? I'm not an idiot.
I know. Don't be so stubborn, shy boy.
I am not being stubborn. I am not shy, and I am not a boy.
Oh?
I am a man.
I am a young, healthy, 21-year-old man. I'm not gonna fall for an old lady like you.
Okay.
Oh.
Suddenly, the guttural
40
roar
years
of a
old.
furious animal filled the room. Or so Junpei thought for just a moment. Lotus's hands suddenly stopped, and her shoulders stiffened.
Old lady. Did you just say old lady?
Well,
Ah, crap, thought Junpei. I went too far. Do you think?
Yeah?
Oh well, it was a nice life while it lasted.
I've had enough of you. Go somewhere else. You're bothering me.
What?
Go see if you can find a password hint or something. I'll try and open this from here. You're distracting me. Go. Now.
She set you on fire with her mind.
Lotus waved her hand in the universal gesture of dismissal. Junpei was clearly not wanted.
Fine. I guess I'll go.
Time to cut my
Yes, do
losses,
that.
Junpei thought, and left as quietly and inoffensively as he could. Junpei wandered around the room for a while, looking for anything that might help find the password for the computer. Unfortunately,
I'm thinking about how Junpei looks like Marty McFly a little bit.
Whatsoever.
I bet it's probably intentional.
probably.
I'm sure it is, but still.
Clover
Yeah.
didn't find anything useful in the laboratory either. Damn. Looks like we've hit a dead end this time.
But just as he was about to tell Lotus that his search had returned nothing, once again, Junpei, have you forgotten what you picked up moments ago? Because, like, we got the notes with the stuff that was on the table.
All right. Bullseye. Junpei,
Like,
I did
I haven't
it.
even looked at it yet. Excited cheering erupted from near the monitor.
What?
He hurried back to find Lotus looking rather smug.
Let me see.
She gestured for him to look at the screen, and he did. The strange text from before was gone. In its place was something entirely different. 9 squares, arranged in a 3x3 square.
What is that?
I don't have any idea. It just showed up after I cracked the password.
You think it's a puzzle?
It certainly looks like one.
As she spoke, Lotus stood up.
Huh? Aren't you gonna, I don't know, do more computer stuff?
I can't do anymore. It won't let me do any more programming. See? The keyboard. Nothing. So, there's nothing more I can do. Well, I guess I'll leave this to you then, Junpei.
What?
Let me take a break, all right? I did my part.
Well...
He wasn't sure what to say to that. She certainly had done her part. In fact, without Lotus, they probably would have run completely aground. I shouldn't rely on other people so much, Junpei thought to himself.
I guess you're right. Thanks, Lotus.
No problem. And make sure you know when you should thank people.
Now, I better take care of this myself. No more relying on anyone else.
Junpei crossed his arms and stared at the puzzle shown on the screen.
Because I'm a big man. I'm a big boy.
SpongeBob, I am a man.
I'm a big brave boy.
So when I press one of the panels, the colors of the
Big
ones
wrinkly
next to
brain.
it switch. Oh, looks like there's some text here. All panels green equals unlock. Restriction no more than 4 attempts. Will automatically reset after failure. In other words, I have to get all the panels green in less than 4 tries. Okay, well... File, that's what I want. The note Clover copied from the stand in the library has 4 numbers written in 9 separate cells. 1, 2,
Aw.
3, 4. Simple enough.
Man. Yeah. I like these puzzles, so I would have been able to do it without looking at the notes.
I'm not good at them.
I adore the Professor Layton series, so I am I am a puzzle cursed person.
Alright. That specific kind I'm very bad at. Alright, I solved it. Did you hear a noise just now? Yeah, I did. It sounded like something unlocking. Where did it
Perhaps-
come from?
The egregious amount of lockers next to you.
Look, Junpei.
Couldn't be.
The lights on the lockers are green. Then we must have unlocked it with the computer puzzle. there's more than one key in here. This one is small, and it looks like it goes to some sort of machine. And this one has the Earth symbol on it. I think the Earth symbol matches a keyhole in a door on the A deck. Well, if that's the case, we probably don't need the Earth key right now. Alright then, Earth key, I'll just tuck you away deep in my pocket. Now, as for the other key... It was just at that moment that he heard a voice behind him. It was Clover.
Hey, Junpei, do you have a minute?
He put the puzzle aside for the moment and walked over to Clover.
What's up?
Well, never mind.
Hey, hold on a minute. What does...
Sorry, just forget about it. It's nothing.
Before he could say anything else, she spun around and ran back down the stairs.
What the hell was that?
After waiting a few minutes to see if she would return, Junpei sighed, shook his head, and went back to searching. That was weird.
What was that for?
Oh, you know.
This key. This shape sure makes it seem like it goes to this machine. Alright, I'm turning it on. Okay, the monitor is on now, and it's full of letters. It's showing some kind of warning. Power restored to experimental device. Emergency system will activate in the event of abnormal subject behavior. Okay.
Abnormal subject behavior. Quick, who's the weirdest one here? Junpei.
Exam table, blah blah blah. Junpei, this thing in here is on now. Yeah, that's because we activated the power over on this side. Could you, like, play with it a little? Okay. Yeah, I'll turn this dial here. Turn, turn, turn. I don't think it's working. Nothing happened. Well, maybe she missed something. I should ask her to look around the room again. It's a rack. There are some cables on top. Copper wire exposed. I've got the scribblings from the table already. This is the monitor. There are a whole lot of cables under this table.
So, you just turned on the power.
Yeah. That mannequin looks
Required
so
power.
sad. I gotta admit, I'm starting to feel kind of sorry for it.
Perhaps the big thing with dials is on it?
Well, that's what I just clicked, and it...
Oh, was it?
Yeah. Those are the stairs I just came down, the bars in the gate are just... Maybe if you increase the voltage? Roger. Will do. Okay, I'm gonna go all the way to max voltage.
Oh god.
Max voltage?
Maximum power!
Wait, Clover! Aw, shit. What? I think, She's fried this poor mannequin.
It's fine.
Science boy!
Oh my god!
the mannequin's head!
Junpei when he thinks too hard.
Me when I think too hard. Oh man, that sounds like a fire alarm. Yeah, what the hell? Fire detected. Fire detected. The emergency system will be activated. Evacuate the room immediately.
You check if the bars are gone?
Junpei, it's so hot in here. Help me! Damn, gate's still shut. Oh. Control device for the electronic door lock. The green light is on. Yeah. Junpei, look at the light. Yes, it's green. The emergency system has been activated and disabled the lock. Now we can save Clover.
What is the solution to this puzzle? Explode the mannequin.
Junpei! Come on, kid, jump! She's safe. Oh man, that smoke is some serious business. Time to close this door again, I think. Clover, are you okay? Are you hurt? Damn, she's coughing so hard she can't even talk. Of course I'm not alright! What the hell took you so long, you big jerk? I was almost dead! Sorry, I was going as fast as I could. You two can do this later. Right now, we need to get the hell out of here. That fire is not going to stay in that room forever.
Fire can't pass through walls, stupid. It's not a ghost.
Okay, does anybody else get bothered by the fact that they don't spell out the numbers?
Yes, I do get bothered by that.
It's actually a grammatical rule that if you have a number under 10, you're supposed to spell it out with letters and not use numerals.
Boo, grammar.
Junpei, Clover, and Lotus leapt out of the laboratory, slamming the door shut behind them.
Whew, thank God we got out of there.
Yeah, finally.
Oh, yeah.
All three collapsed against the wall, breathing heavily. Junpei's heart was pounding in his chest, and his whole body felt weak. He inhaled gulps of clear air, and with each one, he could feel his body begin to calm down.
All right, let's go.
Okay.
They nodded to each other and started off down the hallway. Before long, they found a few new doors, but all of them were locked.
Damn, none of these open. They're all locked.
How about that one?
The final door sat in a corner of the hallway.
Let's hope this is the door with the prize.
Junpei grabbed the door handle and was about to pull it open when a voice cried out behind him. It was neither Clover nor Lotus, but he recognized it. There was no doubt the voice belonged to...
Jumpy!
Huh?
He spun around. There, at the other end of the hall, Junpei saw human figures running toward him. 3 of them.
June? Santa! 7!
They stopped short in front of Junpei and his companions, gasping for air.
Hey, what are you guys doing here?
What? But we didn't...
Before he could finish, Clover spoke.
Hey guys! Could you come take a look at this?
She was standing near the end of a small hallway that had branched off to the right. The rest of them ran over to her, curious as to what she'd found.
Hey, on the wall.
A map of the ship's interior?
It says C deck.
So it's the map for this floor, then?
Door 7. And... Door 8. Yep, they both eventually end up at this hallway.
In fact...
Yeah, isn't that what I said? We aren't going to be split up permanently till we find door 9. We might get separated for a little while, but we'll see each other again. Otherwise, we won't be able to open door 9. That's how the nonary game works.
Junpei looked at the map of the ship's interior again.
Wait a sec. This leads to...
As he looked more closely, his surprise and excitement gave way to weariness.
Oh!
You've got to be kidding me.
One by one, the others saw what he'd seen.
We may as well go.
Yeah.
As one, they all moved back toward the door Junpei had only a moment ago been ready to open.
Oh, almost forgot. We should keep this.
He pulled the map of the ship's interior off of the wall, put it in his pocket, and followed the others.
How big are your pockets, man?
The 6 of them stood in front of the door, arrayed in a semicircle. Santa stepped forward. He took hold of the door and spoke without looking back at the other 5.
Ready? I'm gonna open it.
They nodded their silent assent. With a
thought they
deep
said
breath,
they're mad at their
Santa
silent
threw open the
asses.
door.
Well, I guess none of them are dummy thick.
They're clapping.
I don't know, 7.
They poured through the doorway and into the room. Even without looking around, each one of them knew where they were.
I knew it.
They were just where the map had said they would be.
We're back.
Right back here.
In the hospital room.
The bedroom.
I see. I believe I understand what you're saying. The 6 of you split into 2 teams and went through doors 7 and 8. You solved the puzzles in the operating room and the laboratory, and then met one another in the hallway after opening your respective locked doors.
He looked like anyone might after only just waking up, but it seemed that his brain was working as well as ever. So did you have a nice nap? Did you have a nice nap while we set a mannequin on fire?
His old man nap.
He had managed to grasp, summarize, and understand each team's report.
At any rate,
Man,
feel
I
a
would
bit
sleep
silly
so
for
well
my
if I
little show
just,
of
like,
altruism.
dosed myself with some Soparil.
Right.
I know I said I was sure you'd come back for me. I didn't think it would happen so soon, though.
Ace shook his head with a rueful smile.
Well, we saw each other again and we ain't dead, so I'd say that's good enough.
7 smiled.
Anyway, I said we get out of this creepy old place. We found the key we need.
The key?
Ain't that what I just said? I'm talking about the Jupiter key. We found it in the operating room. Here.
7 tossed something small and metallic toward Junpei.
Whoa.
I like how he's just the keeper of the items.
Nice
Hey,
get.
back
His power. Also, I bet his puffer vest has a lot of pockets.
True.
And yet 7 is wearing not only a jacket, but also overalls, which probably also have, like, an egregious amount of pockets.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's got his hands in his pockets, and there's a big pocket right here. He caught it and found that the object was a key.
I see. So this is Jupiter.
On it, someone had engraved a symbol very similar to a 4. He looked over at June, who nodded back. It had to be the Jupiter symbol.
I'm gonna let you hold on to that, alright?
Yeah, on it.
Junpei tucked the new key into his pocket.
So how many unused keys do we have now?
There's the Earth key we found in the laboratory, the Saturn key card we found in the kitchen, and the Jupiter key you just gave me.
Junpei tucked the new keys into his pocket. June spoke up.
The Jupiter key is supposed to be for the door at the end of that long straight hallway, right?
Yeah. If the map's right, then it connects to the central staircase. Then, next to the stairs...
Wait!
They were the first words anyone had heard out of Clover in quite some time. Her face suggested they weren't going to be very happy words.
What about door 3?
Look, you saw the map, right? It's the same as 7 and 8. Just lead us back to the big hospital room. There's no point to seeing what's on the other side of that door.
There is a point. At least there is for me.
There were tears in her eyes, but she glared at 7 as hard as she could, just the same. She looked very much like a frightened puppy. There wasn't a man alive who could have resisted those eyes. 7 looked everywhere in the room except at Clover and muttered and coughed apologies under his breath.
Yeah, you're right, I'm sorry. Snake might be on the other side of door 3.
Clover nodded once. The next person to speak was Ace.
Very well. I'll be coming with you then. I've had a nice long rest. I think it's time I was up and about again. So 7, you'll help me, won't you?
Huh? Me?
Junpei did the calculations quickly in his head. 4 plus 1 plus 7 equals 12, 1 plus 2 equals 3. It looked like 7 was doing them too. At last, he gave up.
Damn. Well, I guess that's how it's gotta be. So I'm going with you, huh?
Yes, you are.
Alright, let's get moving.
And so it was decided that Clover, Ace, and 7 would discover what lay beyond door 3.
Okay, we're heading out.
Be careful.
Whoa. Didn't think I'd be hearing that from you, Lotus.
Don't let it go to your head. I'd be in trouble if the 3 of you bought it. The rest of us can't open the 9 door.
Ah, the truth comes out.
7 nodded as if this answer made much more sense and pulled the lever on the red.
The truth
Pull
comes
the lever,
out.
cock.
Snake is a gay.
Yes, he's democratically elected gay.
Yeah.
Okay, we're off.
Like, quite literally, there was a Twitter poll.
Yeah.
And he
world's
was
first
voted
democratically, like, gay character.
The door opened and Ace, Clover, and 7 jumped through it. 6, 7, 8. After exactly 9 seconds, the door closed noisily.
All right, we should get moving too.
Huh?
Get moving.
Where are we going?
Everyone except Lotus seemed rather confused.
Well, it would be a waste of time to just sit around, wouldn't it? Let me explain.
We got keys that need to be
Get it?
using.
We're gonna see if we can get anywhere interesting with the Jupiter key.
Yes. If we're lucky, we might find Snake.
They were at the end of the hallway lined by individual hospital rooms.
And here's the Jupiter symbol on the keyhole.
All right, Junpei, open it if you please.
Yeah, on it.
Junpei pulled out the Jupiter key from his pocket and slid it into the keyhole. He twisted. With a nice, sharp click, he felt the door unlock.
He shouted.
Junpei sucked in a breath, held it, and opened the door as quietly as he could.
It's a very, very deep cut.
Inside was exactly what he expected to see from the map of the ship's interior. They were in a tremendous hall, almost like a ballroom, with a massive central staircase.
Great, back to the beginning. You sure this is a good idea?
What do you mean?
Well, we already searched every inch of this room, didn't we?
We have more keys, Santa.
I'm asking you if there's any reason we came back here.
Of course there's a reason.
Of course there's a reason. And sometimes I can't tell if you're smart or just lucky.
Huh?
Junpei pulled 2 things out of his pockets.
The Saturn key card. And the Earth key? I'm lost.
Santa cocked his head to one side like an inquisitive bird and looked at them. After several long moments, during which it became apparent that Santa had no idea what the cards meant, June took pity on him.
Don't you remember, Santa? On C deck, where we are now, there was a big elevator behind the stairs, remember? And next to the elevator, there was a card reader with the Saturn symbol on it. And on A deck, on the door to the left, there was a keyhole with the Earth symbol on it, I think. So the 2 keys that Jumpy has?
Should let us use the elevator and the door on A deck. Huh.
Yes, that's right.
June smiled, pleased with herself. So did Santa.
All right, I got it. Let's get started then. What do you say we split into 2 teams? Lotus and I will search the Earth one, so you 2 can search Saturn, all right?
Sounds good. Then you guys should take this key.
Junpei handed the Earth key to Santa. They decided that their initial search should be brief.
We have no idea what's on the other side of these. So don't go too far. Just search for 10 minutes and come back.
Plan decided, the 2 teams split up. Junpei and June headed for the elevators.
There's a card reader next to the left elevator.
Then let's try out the Saturn key card.
I love visual novels and their incessant need to explain every single thing that happens over and over.
Yeah.
They sound like they're teaching kindergarten. Like, oh, let's use the Saturn key.
Yeah, it sounds like Blue's Clues.
Yeah. Also, I know all of these astrological symbols, but the only reason I do is because I watched a lot of Sailor Moon as a child.
Yeah. Yeah, and the way I talked about them previously, you could probably tell that I mostly know some of them from their relevance to alchemy.
Yeah.
Which is
This is
unsurprising for
unsurprising.
me.
I don't know most of them. Meanwhile,
I
Same.
actually have a charm bracelet that has the little astrological symbols for Venus, Jupiter, Mars, and Mercury.
Nice. A light on the
My
upper left
eyelid is
corner
twitching.
blinked to life.
Great. It looks like it's working now.
All right. Now, how do I call the elevator?
There was a single button to the right of the elevator door.
Oh, it only has the upside down triangle on it.
I guess
Oh
there's
boy,
no
oh
up
boy, oh
button.
boy.
you mean the
We
down
may as well
button?
try pushing this one.
The upside down triangle button? June! Good lord!
Okay, this is gonna be a really specific reference, but do y'all know that art that's like, it's like Warrior Cats fan art, and it's like, be careful, there's a thunder beast, and then there's the house cat. It's like, you mean the fucking car?
Yeah, June sounds like a warrior cat right now with the words that she's using. Like, who calls the down button an upside down triangle? What the fuck? Two legs are coming.
The door slid shut, and they heard the grinding of the motor as the elevator car moved down.
Oh my god.
It opened! Look, Jumpy!
June's voice was excited, but Junpei could hear a tinge of anxiety.
Sweet. It opened. Let's get going.
He grinned at June and stepped toward the open door. As he was about to set foot in it, he felt a hand on his arm.
Wait!
What?
I'm not really, I just, oh gosh.
Junpei was at something of a loss. What could she possibly be so frightened of? June was probably afraid of...
You know what you have to choose, right? Is there even a question?
No. Oh no! Oh no! Junpei, why? Why are you cursed by the Urikoshi curse?
I have to.
There's no other option.
God.
You must choose it.
Being locked up alone with a boy. After a
Why are
little
you
thought,
cursed with the Uchikoshi curse?
Junpei decided that she had to be nervous about being locked up in such a small space alone with a boy.
Well, we will be all alone in here.
In a way, it was kinda cute. Very demure. Very mindful. Very demure, you could say, he thought. Still, even though it wasn't exactly roomy in the elevator, they weren't going to be pressed up against one another. At least they didn't have to be.
Oh my god.
Still, it was making her nervous. Junpei couldn't help but think how innocent she was.
Oh, I
Jumpy?
hate this.
Oh,
my god.
nothing. It's not important. Come on, let's go.
I will say, given that I have also been playing Tsukihime recently, it is quite refreshing to have a protagonist be horny in a normal way.
Extremely valid of you.
Again, he stepped toward the elevator. And again, he felt himself restrained.
I said wait a minute.
Why?
Aren't you afraid, Jumpy?
Afraid of what?
Well, I've never, you know.
It's your first time?
She'd never been in an elevator with a man alone before.
Oh my god.
Even so, she still seemed awfully
hated it.
alarmed.
Oh my god. Get off me, dogs.
I might.
What?
Down there. I get soaking wet.
Favorite conversation ever in the history of anything.
Well, I mean, of course you would. That's the way it works. I mean, I've never heard of anyone getting soaking wet somewhere else.
That's true.
I hate you. I hate you so much.
You don't mind
Mind what?
getting wet?
Well, I don't know. I think I'd probably,
Oh my
like it.
god!
Gosh, Jumpy, you're so brave.
Really?
Oh my
I mean, I kind of think any guy would do
Oh
the
my
same thing.
god!
What happens, happens, right? I mean, if you get the chance, you've just got to go for it. That's what a man is supposed
Oh my
to do.
god!
He sucks so much.
You're so cool, Jumpy. I really admire you.
So stupid.
That doesn't really seem like the sort of thing you ought to admire someone for.
At least he's a little self-aware.
Really scary.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you've never done it before.
Yes. So, I don't think I'll be able to last
Oh
very
my
long. Then it'll be over.
Over?
Yes. I'll go to heaven.
Heaven?
It feels kind of like you're floating in space, and your mind gets all
Oh
fuzzy
my god.
like when you pass out.
Can the both of you stop being vague?
At least that's what I've heard from people who have experienced it.
Yes, I've heard that too.
Oh my god.
Although I
Oh my
don't
God.
think
Heard that
this
too,
thing
huh?
happens to guys.
He knows. He took a shower once.
What?
Huh?
That would happen to men too, wouldn't it? It would happen to anyone. Once it gets into your body, the same thing happens to everyone.
Well, I mean,
Oh my
usually it
god.
I mean, generally.
Yes, it does. Well, eventually it will. It's not like you really have a choice. Your body will force you to swallow some of it.
Oh my god.
What are you trying to do to me?
I'm not going to do anything to you. I'm just saying that that's what happens. It's a psychological reaction to what you're experiencing.
Oh, is that so?
The dogs think I'm dying. Oh my god.
Then it's only natural? Is that what's natural for living beings? I can't. Perhaps he'd been mistaken all these years. Had he misunderstood life so gravely? The thought terrified him.
Newt, I'm
June's-
sending you something.
June seemed to be entirely oblivious to Junpei's mounting confusion and terror.
I know most men probably have larger lungs, but even then, I don't think you could hold your breath for 20 or even 10 minutes. Eventually, you'd have to breathe, and then the water would get into your lungs. Once that happens, your body won't be able to get oxygen anymore. And you'll start to feel that floaty feeling as you pass out. Huh.
Oh.
God. Finally, Junpei understood. He understood what June was trying to say and why she was so scared.
He understands everything now.
Right. You wouldn't last very long.
See?
She was afraid that the only elevator button pointed down. That meant, of course, that the elevator couldn't go any higher than the floor they were on. As he thought about it, Junpei realized he hadn't seen elevators on the A or B decks near the central staircase, all of which meant that the elevator could only convey them to the lower decks.
Come to think of it, the lower floor, D-deck, is completely underwater. An elevator heading to a submerged floor. That is pretty scary. Hey, wait a minute. This elevator came up from somewhere under us, right?
Which means there's a dry area somewhere.
Well, yes, I guess it did. It didn't open right away after you pressed the button. There was a motor noise, like it was moving, and then it opened.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So, take a look inside.
Junpei jerked his head toward the interior of the elevator.
It's not wet at all, is it? The walls and even the floor are totally dry.
Oh, you're right. They are.
She looked around the elevator, slightly embarrassed.
Well, let's test
Oh my
it.
god.
Test it.
Yeah, watch this.
I
I was
have
literally-
no idea what happens if you choose the other option, because there's no way I can skip that conversation.
I think I have chosen the other option before, because like, you know, I don't know. I'm a moron,
Visual
I guess.
novel, you gotta try everything.
And it's definitely not that funny.
Yeah. I don't think anything in this game is that funny.
I'll just put one foot inside the elevator and look over at the buttons. Oh, there's only two, E and C. All right, I'll push E.
He pushed the E button and jumped out of the elevator. The door slid shut, and they heard the grinding of the motor as the elevator car moved down.
I think I can hear it opening on E deck.
Okay, that's done. Now I'll just press the button again.
A few moments later, the elevator returned.
Yep, not a single drop of water to be seen. See?
Junpei couldn't resist puffing out his chest just a little bit. June, however,
He needed
still
a win
looked
after that
confused.
last thing.
Yeah.
What does that mean? How can E deck be safe if the D deck is full of water?
Well, here's what I think. The elevator shaft and E-deck must be watertight and separated from wherever the ship's been punctured.
You know what it's called?
Here,
It's
let
called
me show you.
bulkhead. It's called bulkheads.
He pulled out his notebook and pen and sketched out a rough illustration.
I see. So is that why the ship hasn't sunk? The shape of the inside keeps it all from filling with water?
Yes, that is how large ships like this work.
Yeah, and especially because, like, the whole point of the Titanic being quote-unquote unsinkable was the fact that it had several compartments that were just, like, you could seal it off. So that even if you did hit something, you could seal off that section and then not worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously that didn't work in the case of the Titanic, but
Yeah.
that's usually
That was the
how
theory.
that sort of things work. The bulkheads can be sealed watertight, so you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I think that's what's going on.
Junpei continued talking as he closed the notebook and slipped it back into his pocket.
So I'm gonna go down and check it out. You stay here, all right?
But
Come on, just do it, all right?
He gave June's shoulder a reassuring squeeze, then hopped onto the elevator.
Junpei voice, I'm a brave boy.
He pushed the E button and the door began to close. June looked worried, her eyes darting back and forth as if she was trying to make a decision, when suddenly,
I'm coming with you.
Huh?
at the last possible moment, June dashed forward, turning sideways just in time to slip through the gap between the closing doors.
Hey, wait!
Junpei jammed his finger against the open button, but it was too late.
Oh, crap. It closed.
The door had shut, and he and June were in the elevator, and it was headed down to E-deck. He was so surprised by June that he didn't even have time to think about what awaited him on the E-deck.
I can't just let you go alone, you know.
Ah, jeez.
The elevator stopped and the door slid open. They tentatively stepped out and looked around.
It looks normal.
No fish going about their fishy business or jellyfish floating lazily through the water. There was, however, a blowfish, or at least something that looked very much like one. June's cheeks were puffed out and her mouth a tiny, intense frown.
Oh, knock it off. It's just like I thought. This part hasn't flooded. Come on, just look around. There's no water here.
June looked around nervously, then exhaled.
You're right. It's not flooded at all.
See?
But there's a whole lot of water.
Yeah, right on top of us.
What's gonna happen if the ceiling breaks?
Junpei thought about that for a moment.
Well, we'd probably get really wet up there. At any rate, we should probably go back as soon as we can, once we're done looking around down here. Lotus and Santa might already be back.
Okay, good idea.
Now then.
Junpei glanced around the room they'd found themselves in. The first thing he noticed was a set of thick iron bars. They ran the length of the room, separating the left elevator from the right one.
Iron bars. Well, we can't go over there.
Right.
Then maybe...
Honestly, the holes in these look big enough that you might be able to squeeze through them.
I think Akane probably could.
Yeah. In the corner of the room that housed the elevators, Junpei found an opening.
Well...
He walked up to it and stuck his head around the corner.
It looks like there's a long straight hallway down this way.
Something's written on the door at the end. Wait, is that...
Let's check.
Junpei and June set off down the hallway at a brisk clip, somewhere between a run and a jog. Before long, they found themselves in front of the door. On it was a number written in bright red paint. 6.
I knew it!
This is a numbered door.
And indeed, there was a red bolted to the wall right next to the door.
But we can't do anything with only the two of us.
We better head back and let everyone know.
Yes.
Junpei and June turned and headed back to C deck.
Wait, what's this?
On their way back, Junpei noticed a map on the wall.
Is this the map for E-Deck?
Steal the map. Steal the map.
I should take it with
Steal the map!
Is it really stealing?
Steal the map!
It's just borrowing.
Yeah.
Huh. So you guys found door 1.
They'd met back up with Santa and Lotus, who had explained what they found. Apparently, there was another numbered door on A deck, just like the one on E deck, beyond the door that the Earth Key opened. According to Santa and Lotus, there was a 1 on the door.
So now we've located 2 new doors. The 6 door and the 1 door.
You know, it is interesting that E-Deck wasn't flooded.
Lotus was quiet for a moment, lost in thought.
Well, we don't really know if all of E-Deck is safe. We only checked the area around the elevator.
Even so, it's still very interesting.
You said the 6th door was there, right?
Yes.
Then that means Zero planned all this out. Even the sinking. That would have meant some pretty serious remodeling of the ship's interior.
It's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it.
Yeah. I wonder how long it took. I can't even imagine how much it must have cost.
It would have been a ton, that's for sure.
Well, that does go along with what Ace was saying. The most reasonable explanation would be that this was done by some organization with access to a whole lot of cash.
Yes, it does make sense.
That thought made them all go quiet for a moment. June bit her lip, while Lotus sighed softly to herself and Santa cracked a stiff neck and stared off into the distance at nothing.
Yeah?
I don't think it's a very good idea to stay here.
June looked up at Junpei with large, pleading eyes.
Yeah, you're right. Ace and his team might be back already.
Well, Junpei and I should be able to open door 1.
Huh? You guys leaving me behind?
8 plus 6 plus 5 equals 19. 1 plus 9 equals 10. 1 plus 0 equals 1.
Just kidding. All right, let's go.
Lotus's words were all the impetus they needed. Back to the large hospital room they went.